only thing that I feel keeps me grounded is exploring more. And the more I learn about other things.
Like, no one's expecting you to be the expert at whatever you're doing, or it's supposed to be the best.
Right.
It is your best in this moment at this time, and you will only get better.
Start. Just start. Start somewhere. Start small. You absolutely do not have to know everything about anything. There was a lot of liberation and there was a lot of pushback.
Welcome to the Mapuana Reed Show. We have my friend Kamaile here, and she is gonna take us on a journey of all the fabulous things. I won't say. We're just gonna rock and roll with this, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So tell me about your businesses. Tell me, okay, what business do you have? Tell me about all of your businesses. You have construction. You have Okole by Kamaile. What else you got going on?
Those are the two right now.
Okay.
That I am speaking on.
Okay.
Yeah. So my husband and I own a construction company. We're a general contractor. It's called Evolution Builders. It is a Wahine Native Hawaiian business. So I do own 51%.
Yes.
And yeah, it's a big deal, you know.
It
is. And it took a long time. Like, we've been in business since 2011. And people, you know, they forget. It started off really small, side jobs, until it became something bigger, until we could get me on full time, until I could receive a paycheck for a certain amount of years, until we could qualify for Heide and HUD zone and all these things. And like, the advantage of that is there's a lot of federal jobs that you will get privy to if you have a Native Hawaiian or something of the sort. Back in my roots, it's based on like, we would have so many clients come, and a lot of clients want to come from the mainland and build here. And we were really picky on who we're building for, what we're building, where we're building. So there's a lot of that. He's doing a lot of that on the forefront, you know, and that gives me a lot more time to work on Okole by Kamaile, which has now been in business for just about 4 years. November makes 4 years, which started off as a joke. I always say that, but like, it's been the best joke ever. You know, I used to own a CrossFit gym with a couple of my buddies, and right when COVID hit, I transitioned into just doing social media booty workouts in the garage. And that's really where that just became. And it's like, we were talking, it's like, it started off with, hey, follow along, build a butt. And then it started off with like, these are the bands. And people were like, where do we get that? And I was linking out Amazon carts to people, check this, you know. And I just was like, wait a minute, I should be selling that myself. And it just sent me down this path of research. And I think that's really one of the fun parts of being creative, is the research, right? Like, you just have this itch in your brain. How does that work? Let me see. Is that something I'm interested in? You just keep going. And next thing I knew, I found myself with a manufacturer who was willing to take on some Hawaii print designs, and I rolled out some bands. And I know, me and my sister just goofed around, and I was just like, I think the best name is Okole. And, you know, I always joke about her being Olelo Hawaii, and she's like, you're going to get trolled for it. I'm like, yeah, but it just rolls, right? Call it that. And eventually it turned into full fitness clothing loungewear.
I love it. And then it's also at some hotels, right?
Yeah, so you can find the line at the Fairmont Orchid in Kona.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
I had this really cute girl, I had a couple of people actually, but reach out to me on my Instagram. It's like, I was on vacation, I bought some of your stuff, I love it so much, you know, I found your page, I'll be ordering. And I had one lady who was like insistent. She's like, this is my favorite sports bra, I need more. I'm like, I don't sell it.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's exclusive to the Fairmont now. And she's like, please. And I went to my manufacturer, and I got her a couple pieces made and shipped it out to her. And like, yeah, so
Nice.
it's been a fun process learning.
Yeah.
It's, you know, fashion is a hard industry, but it's fun.
Girl, I wear it as a regular bra. It is the best push-up bra.
I know.
The black and white one that I just ordered. It is so good.
Isn't it?
It is the best push-up bra. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I just use it under my clothes. Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
It's comfy.
It is. Okay. Let's talk about being in a community of women.
It's a difficult place to be a creative on a small island in a small group of women who are doing the same thing, right? It's already like, to be an entrepreneur, to be Hawaiian, or to be here on the island, to be an entrepreneur is a small group. Then for it to be women-owned group is even smaller group, right? And it just becomes this really small, like I'll go home to my mom's church, right? And I look around, it's everybody I know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel when it comes to the business world. Like, once you've already kind of gotten into it, you have no choice. You're going to overlap. It is such a small community.
And you're going to outgrow.
And you're going to outgrow,
Yeah.
which is hard because they're still kind of in your spaces,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like, how do you level up to your highest self, your highest being, growing in your business is the way you want to and as a person, but still being able to collaborate in a space where these people are always going to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, lots of times, and I don't want to come off a certain way, but like, I feel like I'm bigger than, right? I'm bigger than the island. And so it's been an interesting for me to be, I moved away last year to be living, you know, on the continent, to be in Washington and just being like, kind of watching how the business is evolving, how it's changing.
It's just that you want more.
I want more.
I feel that too. And I don't
Yeah.
think that there's nothing wrong with that. You just want more.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you just want to grow. You just want to grow bigger than the pot that you're in.
Yeah. I want to absorb
Yes.
everything.
Yeah.
You know, I saw someone posted the other day, and it's just because I know her, but like, she posted this little quote, and it was like, there's nothing wrong with the doing nothing, the sitting at home, the reading a book, to find joy in the simple pleasures.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I read it, and immediately my soul was like, I agree. And I turned to my husband, I go, but you know what? There's something about traveling, learning about other cultures, understanding people, developing compassion, empathy for history of other places, so that you can be a better human, so that you can experience that there's more than my favorite beach at Nanakuli, right? There's other things that can bring just as much joy. And then it becomes this really weird shift of this loyalty to culture versus now my loyalty to my soul. Right? Because I identify as Hawaiian, and I'm insecure that I'm not dark enough, that I'm not Hawaiian enough. I didn't dance like my mom. I don't carry out a specific craft like my grandmother. Like, so there's this insecurity, this deep-rooted insecurity about my culture. And then there's my soul. You know, and it brings me to tears because my soul is what I'm healing. My soul is who's going to teach my daughter, right? It's not necessarily my culture. It's my soul. My soul dictates the culture of who I am as a woman, who my posterity of women will become is my soul. And so it's like, as much as we go through this process, and I feel insecure, you know, like, I'll be super honest. I feel insecure that sometimes I get trolled that the okole is butthole. You know, like, I didn't grow up using it as butthole. We grew up as using it as our bottom, you know, but like, yeah, I'll get these things, and then I question, am I good enough for that? Should I be doing that? You know, and
like that imposter syndrome.
The imposter syndrome kicks in all different ways. And the only thing that I feel keeps me grounded is exploring more. And the more I learn about other things. If not, I would just be stuck in this okole, you know. But I'm like, I get to travel, right? Like, we enjoy traveling. We enjoy going to other groups, seeing how other women experience things, you know. And I think that's the main focus for me, is how do I teach my spirit, my soul, to experience the world and take in what I need without doubting and questioning, you know, who I was taught I am. And you know that because you watch my evolution within the Mormon church. You know, I'm still a very active member, but like, I have evolved in that aspect very much.
Typical Mormon.
Yeah. You know, my mom was like, "Oh, I ran into your friends at church the other day, and they were like, how's Kamaile?" And I'm like, "Oh, you know, crazy." Like, that was the word she said, and I was like, "Sure." But still loving God, you know, still loving my family,
Yeah.
So,
And living your best life.
I'm living my best life. You know, I just don't think that God came out here and said, "You have one way to do things, and it should be mainly built of enduring." Right?
Yeah.
It should be about enjoying and loving and finding joy and happiness. And I think we get that confused too, right? Happiness is like little goals. Like, you've got your podcast now. Yeah, you know. And then joy is like the service I can provide outside of me.
Yes.
Right? That I can give to someone else, whether it's family or other women or our community. I'm like, there's a lot to find joy. But with joy is trial.
Yeah.
Right? We have to experience that, and it sucks, but it's the only way.
I think as a woman, you go through all of these, like, am I good enough? And who am I to want more? Okay, so for me, I think that that's a big one. Like, I feel like all I ever wanted to be was a photographer for so long, and then I did, and then I grew it, and it was beautiful, and then I wanted more.
Yeah.
And then it's like, in a way, I was kind of like, well, who am I to want more than this? Like, this is freaking amazing. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
Like, clients left and right, paying good money,
Yeah.
studio, a team, like, everything was wonderful. Who am I to want more than this? And then, but it was in my soul. Like, I just need to grow. It was
Yeah.
like, I was like stuck in a pot. Like, my roots were like ready to just bust out.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and I was like, I got to get out of this pot. Like, put me in a bigger pot. Like, I just need to grow more.
Right. So it's like, okay, I appeased the 5-6 people who were brave enough to say, oh, podcast.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or my soul.
Yeah, exactly.
Which will literally affect you on a cellular level and therefore affect your whole posterity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like,
I don't really care. Like, when they give me that face though, and they're like, oh, you're what? Podcasting? And I'm like, hell yeah, podcasting.
You know what?
And I'm loving every minute of
Yeah,
it.
you're like, and you're not invited to my show. No, I'm just kidding.
And I'm going to block you, dog.
I mean, it's. You gotta
do what you want.
I care too much. That's my biggest flaw. Is like, I'm like, okay.
Okay, so maybe when you get older, because I just turned 50.
Yeah.
So as you get older, I'm not even joking. It's just like, I don't give a fuck. Like, for real. It's like, I really don't care what you think of me. I don't give a shit. Like, I just want to be me. I want to be happy.
Yeah.
Leave
me alone. Yeah. Leave me alone.
Yeah, do you.
Yeah. And that's where the circle gets smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
The people that you share things with get smaller and smaller. That's why.
But it gets authentic. Like,
yes.
that group is like so good, because it's a small group and stuff. Yeah.
And I think the creative side is so vulnerable already because you're already putting a piece of your soul out for the world to watch and judge and partake in.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, it's different to be creative in behind closed doors or creative in silence, or like, I have this idea and I don't want to share it yet. But like, to be creative outwardly is like probably the biggest act of bravery any creative can do. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And because you're literally leaving a piece of yourself. So to have this gap of people who come in and are so entitled to their opinions on your personal creativity that you're just trying to share with the world. Like, there's a gap on that end, right? And then there's that gap on the consumer side, right? And it's exactly what you said. And the main focus is trying to find your people. Not only am I constantly trying to find the people who are for me in the sense of like me, right? So it doesn't matter what I put out creatively, they're here for me, right? But I'm also delicate with trying to figure out who's my consumer base. Right. So I still want, you're still trying to figure that out. Like, I'd love to just do whatever the hell I want all the time and just be like, whoever can afford it and be here.
Yeah.
But there's still a level of like consideration for the people who've been with you for the last 10 years or like including your tribe as you start to level up. And I like to call
evolve.
Upgrade, totally evolving. I actually, I'm working on another business I was telling you about the last time, right? So I'm kind of really pushing through with that. I was talking to my therapist about it. And I was just like, how is this going to make sense with my other business? How do I do this? And she's like, it's just you, though. She's like, it's your brand. And it's extensions of you that you're offering. She's like, it's not Okole. It's not this. It's like, it's Kamaile. And I was like, such a hard thing to kind of grasp when you're trying to make things pretty in boxes, right? And you're like, okay, but how are people going to perceive it? Like,
but pretty for who? Pretty for who?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And that's that's what she's saying. And, I'm in the construction industry as well. And she's like, your bathroom is torn out. It's ugly. There's nothing there, but you're upgrading it, right? She's like, at the end it'll be good. And like, I have to keep reframing that thought process that like, instead of like, oh, I'm in limbo or I'm building or I'm jumping from photography to podcasting and people are just losing their shit over it. You're like, I'm currently upgrading this version of me that just you have access to. Yeah. Like, we're in the upgrading process. Yeah. And that's really hard. It's hard for you, but it's really hard for people watching.
Yeah, it's like they can't process.
They cannot.
So I ran into so many people, and when I see them like wherever on the streets, at the mall, whatever, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I saw on Instagram you're not doing photography anymore." I'm like,
it's almost like condolences. Yeah, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry."
And like they look so sad, and I'm like, "What the hell?" I'm like, "No, I'm gonna do podcasting now," and they're like, "Oh." And I'm like, what? Like, guys, I am so excited for this whole podcast thing. Like, but it's about evolving. I'm not here to stay the same. Girl, I did it for 15 years. I am good. I did what I came to do. I served. I did. And I'm ready for the next. And this is my next.
There's no way in hell that my soul came to this world to do one thing forever and die.
Yeah.
There's no way.
You gotta grow.
There's no way.
Yeah.
I had a girlfriend today, and we were talking about she's going to be my business partner. So we're talking about it. And she's like, okay, these are things I'm worried about. And she like leveled a couple of things. She's like, what if it's just a trend and in a couple of years it dies off? I'm like, then it dies off. What if it's a trend that catapults you into the next thing? I said, here's the thing. I'm not in the business of fashion. I'm in the business of making money. And I go, and that never goes out of trend. It never goes out of style. But part of that is I'm open to how that money is being made and received. So if it starts off one way and it evolves into something else, I'm not going to say nope because that wasn't the original vision board. Hell yeah, I am open to having it change. Like, that's actually what keeps creatives alive, right? Like, if it was just structured this only way and we were checking it off, it doesn't really make us a creative. That kind of makes us more office manager, right? Like, I want to take my business, step in this direction and see how it moves into the next direction. And then be brave enough to like move with it. Like, oh, we're going here. This is where we're going. You know, like, that's exactly how Okole started. Yeah. We started as booty bands and then people were like, wait, where's that bra from? Where's that panty from? Where's that, and then
texting you nonstop. Kamaile, well, send me the video workout. Kamaile, where's this band from? Kamaile, where'd you get this?
Exactly. Like, and I could have just said, no, F all of you. You guys don't know what you're talking about. And instead, I like leaned into that. And I was like, well, what do you guys want? We want sports bras. We want that. I'm like, okay, let me look. You know what I mean? And it just took a natural course. Yeah. I think like even for you, this process has probably been flowed more than you expected it to. Yeah. And I think I tell people all the time, I'm like, I had an idea. It woke me up out of my sleep. I kind of followed through. And within like days, I was and I was like surprised. And I was like, because it flows. Yeah. There's not
and
pushback.
You're open to it. Yeah. You're open to the flow. You're not blocking the flow.
Right. Versus like, I could sit here and give you a list this long of all the reasons why it wouldn't work. Okay. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So would anything. The same way you could do anything you want. Like, it's the same way. So, yes, we are just constantly in upgrade. Right? Yes. Like, we're downloading. We're constantly downloading. Yeah. Like, I always tell that to my girlfriends. I'm like, your phone at night downloads, it shuts off sometimes, and then comes back on. Like, the kinks are fixed, right? All the bugs are fixed. I'm like, we're downloading all the time. And the energy behind that versus like, I'm not sure, I'm changing careers or I'm kind of in limbo is so much greater. Where like, I'm just upgrading what you're seeing right now. My brand. Like when I think of Mapu, like she's a brand, right? It's not Mapu's podcast. It's not Mapu the photographer. It's like Mapu the business owner, entrepreneur. Like she can do anything. If you came out with something, next year, we'd all be like, that's Mapu, right? Yeah. Like it's your brand. And I'm like, that's how I envision me. Yeah. Yeah. And
because people are like people are following you. They're not following you for sports bras.
Right. You can get a sports bra anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. They're following you. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, I feel like with you, I feel like you inspire people, including myself. Like I just seeing your whole growth, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this badass woman just doing her thing. Like I love it.
I gotta tell you, and I want to be real authentic here. Like last night, for like a good 30 minutes, I cried on my bed to my husband about my insecurities and some of my doubts as a current business owner and moving into the next business that I want to do. And like, I was telling him, I was like, I know I got to go on Mapu's show tomorrow and be like, I'm a business owner, And I was like, no, like I literally, like I'm 4 years into this business, like was crying about that business last night.
It's part of it.
It's part of
it.
It is so part of the process, and sometimes it's just releasing it and like, okay,
get back. It's for me, it's like the gap sometimes. So like when I finally decided to let go of photography and I was like, okay, I'm done. And it was so good. It was at its peak. The money was great. The clients were great. Everything was just so freaking wonderful. And then I decided to leave it at its peak and then do this. But then this wasn't my identity yet. I wasn't doing podcasting. Right. It was just an idea. So even when I joined Oak and Pine, I remember they would tell like, okay, go around saying what you do and stuff. And I would be like, yeah, so I did photography for 15 years and now I want to do podcasting. But it was like, I wasn't a podcaster yet, but it was something that I wanted so bad. I wanted to do podcasting. I wanted this studio. I wanted all of this stuff, but I was in the gap of being so unsure of myself, So hallelujah, I'm out of the gap,
right?
But now I'm just like, I do podcasting, and
I'm leveling up to the next.
I'm elevating to the next one.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about social media.
Uh-huh.
So, girl,
Yeah.
I've seen you grow like a lot. You grew your booty, you grew
Yeah.
yourself, your
Mm-hmm.
soul, all of it in like the
Yeah.
last 10 years. And, you know, what I love about you so much, Kamaile, is that you just show up and you don't care. Like, I love that. Girl, when you're in your garage, in your pajamas, whatever you're doing, and like whenever you want, you have something to say,
Yeah.
you just hit record, roll, post, and we out.
Yeah. You know,
I love that.
typically I feel like I'm pretty comfortable on my page with talking to my audience. And you know me, I'm a crybaby. So like I was on there last week crying about something. Who knows what it was, you know?
Yeah.
It was actually about that auntie. It was about that auntie.
Yes.
Okay.
I do want to talk about
So
that.
I was a part of a little Bumahine, and she was kind of like a similar women's group, but like centered in faith. And she was kind of having these little locations, and there was one auntie that was at a meeting I was at, and she started following me, and she's in her 60s. And so I ran into her just last week at the post office, and she stopped me. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you know," she's like, "I wanted to tell you I'm starting that business." I was like, "Good for you." I'm like, "I don't even know what business she's talking about." And she's like, I've had this on my heart. She said that she had this like design, this idea in her head, and she was going to do like a clothing thing. And she just like heard the voice, right? Was, "You're too old. You're too old to start something." And so she like just never did it. And she goes, "But you shared this one story on your social media." And she goes, "And I always stuck with it." I go, "Which one?" I talk so much. And it was talking about this Stanley Cup that I had bought that I was like obsessed with. And it was a Disney Stanley Cup, and it was like black. And the girl makes these designs and she etches. And I remember getting on, like the drop was happening, and I had to wait in the parking lot. And it was $135 for a cup. And I was super close to buying multiple. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, should I buy 3? You know, I don't know." Like I was all in. And it went so fast. I just got the one, $135, 40 ounce.
Damn.
I know.
Whoever did their marketing, brilliant.
I know.
Okay.
I was just like, damn it. So what I was sharing was there is a market for everything.
Yeah.
You just have to find your people. Because there are people like we talked about who are like, "That's ridiculous. I would never pay that." And then there's people like me who I'm like, "I want it. I'm going to get it.
Give me 5.
Yeah, give me 5 of them." You know what I mean? Like, so she was sharing that with me. And so we had like a really nice discussion about it. And so she's like, "I'm rolling out my first thing." And I was like, "That's so amazing. I'm so proud of her." The thing we need to be like weary of and have, I did talk about this on my personal page this week, was like discernment over is like what's true and knowing like what's fake. And I think people like as open as I am, because I'm an open book. Like, and even if you DM me or you ask me questions, I'm going to answer your questions pretty honest. I still am only giving you one sliver of my life. You know, I think people think that they know everything about me. I moved to Washington and I got a couple DMs like, "Oh, you and your husband split. I'm so sorry." And I'm like,
what would
what?
give people the idea that yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like people just kind of go off with their own ideas of certain things. And I'm like, I understand, because you're only getting a piece of it. Yeah. So you're making up the rest of it based on your personal experiences or whatever that you think
only
it is.
know me as much as I allow you to see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think people forget that. Like you're only getting a little piece of my life. Like I could get on and cry every day about everything I got going on, but I'm like, but on the flip side, there's like genuine personality, right? That, because in a way you're just the character of your own show, right? You're the main character that you get to share with people. And then on the other side, I'm seeing a lot of experts or people who claim to be experts in certain areas that I know damn well are not, you know, that like because it looks good or it feels good, people will buy into. You know, I have had a few of my own where I've had bought a personal training session from someone and it was not it, you know, but it looked a certain way. And there's so many things that are coming at us on the internet. I mean, how many reels are you flipping through in an hour? Like, you know, let's say an average 30 minutes, you're just sitting there killing time. You've probably viewed 2,000 things, right? Like that your brain is just getting. And sometimes I think it can get really difficult to distinguish between what's real and what's not real, you know, and who's real and who's not real. Who's an expert in that and who's faking it. And I think that is something that we got to do a better job of, like really kind of being better about knowing that what you see on socials is not real. There's a part of it is real, part of it is you know, but it's not the whole story.
I want to go back to the auntie that you saw in the post office,
Yeah.
because I feel like the way how you show up is so authentic and so great that it gives people who want to do something. I feel like you inspire people. So like however you're showing up, whatever you're doing, like you inspire other people that you know what, I can do this too. Like Kamaile did this, she does that. Like if she can do it, then so can I.
Yeah, I think the people who inspire are the ones that it it seems like a possibility,
Yeah.
right? We're letting you know,
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm a local girl. I'm from Mava Beach. Like,
Exactly.
I went, I didn't go Iolani or Puno or anything like that, and I still been able to accomplish things. You have it too. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You have that in you too.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest part for people is they look at people, they put them in a category. Oh, because that's her. That's how she does it. I could never do that. And it's like, but you have it because God gave us all that same thing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
And if you have that feeling in you that, oh, like I'm so inspired by this, I would love to do this. If you have that little bit of a feeling, then you can do
You
it.
already have it.
You already have it.
You're
It's
already
already in you.
feeling it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's
It's in
getting to
you.
know yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then doing that work. So I'm like,
Yeah.
there are so many people that have amazing ideas, but God gives you the idea, but you have to act on it,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It's you acting on it.
Yeah.
Like, and the way I always view God, not to bring God into, but the way I always view my relationship with Heavenly Father is the same I would my children. I'm going to teach my children everything I can, but I do not expect them to call me for every decision they need to make.
Mm-hmm.
Like at some point, I'm like, 80% of your daily decisions you can make on your own. And then you will find out if that was the right one. Right? Like that's the same thing. God might put something on your heart, but he's like, it's yours for a
Yeah.
reason. And no one else will do it any other way but you have to put forth the faith and do the work.
Mm-hmm. And you have to follow the
You have to
path.
follow it. Yeah. You
Yeah.
have to be open
You
to
could
it.
also block it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how much they're blocking stuff
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Like opportunities, or like you get so caught up on one thing one way
Yeah.
that 15 other things went by and you didn't even notice
Yeah.
it. That could
Yeah.
have been other
Yeah.
opportunities.
So this podcast studio, I know I wanted to have my own podcast studio so bad. So I recorded in here one time and then Michelle had asked me like she was like, "Hey, we're looking to rent out the podcast studio. Are you interested in renting it out like
Mm,
permanently?" And in that moment, I was like, "Okay, I'll let you know." But I could feel myself blocking. I went to the bathroom, I sat on the toilet, and I thought to myself, why the hell would I not just
right.
say yes? I mean, I've been wanting this for so bad, and I could feel myself starting to block it. Like I wanted it so bad, and why am I blocking it? So I used the bathroom. I came back. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm
I'll
ready.
take it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. That's exactly what happened. I sat on the toilet. I made my decision. I came back, and I was like, why am I blocking myself? But sometimes we just block
Yeah.
our own blessings coming our way or what we want so bad that we think like, well, not for me.
It's a little bit of that imposter syndrome, but it's been like
Yeah.
whatever that deep rooted belief that you have, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, it's not my time.
Yeah.
Or like I still have more to learn, or
Not
whatever
yet.
it is,
I'm
not
not ready.
yet. Yeah, we have some sort of belief system, like I'm not good enough for that. Like, oh, I hate to put the down payment now. I don't even have an audience,
Yeah.
you
But
know?
here's the thing, you're never gonna get an audience.
Right.
You gotta just hit record and just go.
Yeah.
Like you gotta build the audience.
Right.
Yeah.
I try
Yeah.
to think of it like if I was my best friend looking at me, he'd be like, "What the hell? This is what you've been talking. That's all you talk about for the last 3 years, and you're gonna tell the lady no, and you're like,
That was a conversation I was
yeah,
having with myself
mm-hmm,
on the toilet. I
yep,
was like, what the hell? Like, you wanted a podcast
right,
studio so bad. Like, why would you say no?
right.
Like,
If
what?
someone like yeah, and especially you and me, because our personalities, like
Yeah.
if a friend, if I had called you, I'm like, Mops, and you knew this was something I wanted, you'd be like, "What the hell, girl? What you waiting for?" Right? Like,
Yeah.
so I try hard to put that voice back for
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
in certain situations, but
You're
yeah,
like, where you at? Where you at? I need
yeah,
that voice all the time.
yeah.
Come on.
Okay, so we can segue into this. I think women business owners who become the most successful are the ones that it's not that you had an idea, right? Because we all have amazing ideas.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that as you started taking the steps, you did the work.
Okay.
So
Yes.
it's not the work was I had to find the manufacturer
Mm-mm.
and come up with $700. It's not the work, that's the easy
Yeah.
part. The
Yeah.
work was as I was doing it, am I good enough for this? What if it doesn't turn out the way? What if I have 700 pieces of okole bands that do not sell? Right? That's the
Yeah.
work.
There's this saying I heard, hustle beats talent when talent doesn't hustle. It's
Always.
all the
Always. All
time.
the time. So the reason why we moved to Washington is my oldest son's playing basketball there. And he's a little late. Like that community, they start at fourth grade and they all roll to graduation. And so
Yeah.
he's coming into it. And I'm like, there's, a lot of talent. And he doubts himself on a regular, and I'm just like, but it's the skills, it's the basics that you can go into the gym every day and out basics someone
Mhm.
who just
Mhm.
rides on their pure
Mhm.
athleticism.
Mhm.
Like good
You're
for
showing
them,
up.
but you're showing up. You're
Yeah.
putting in those little things. My father, who's an attorney, and he was valedictorian, and I always tell this story. He was like, I was valedictorian because the smartest kids in the class never came to school. He said half the class, they just showed up, got A's. They're the smartest kids. And he goes, I worked my butt off. And he goes, if they didn't, right? If they didn't
Yeah.
just slack a little, he's like, there would have been no room for me.
Yeah.
But I always tell my kids that. I was like, he was valedictorian not because he was the smartest, because he showed up
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
consistently showed up when the
Yeah.
smart kids didn't.
Yeah. And
You
you got to
know,
show up.
you just
Even
get,
when you don't want to show up, you
you don't want to,
just got to just show up.
especially when you don't want to,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I love the most is that I always love to show up in rooms that I feel like I don't belong, or in
Oh,
rooms that no, honestly, it's such a funky ass weird feeling, but I want to be in those rooms. I want to grow. I want to learn so badly. So I will go to retreats. I will go like hire a mentor or
yeah,
whatever and be in a group with women that I feel like, do I even belong
I
here?
know.
But like I learned so much from that. So
Yeah.
really it's about my roots in a pot. Like I can feel my roots busting out. I'm like, I need to grow. I need to
I
grow.
love that about you because I'm that friend that's like in my mind, I'm like, yes. And then I show up and I'll stand outside for a little bit and I'm like, I need
Yeah.
someone to take me in the room. It's not that I don't, I think too, with my online personality, people think anybody feels like they can approach me and I'll be that same way. I'm
Yeah.
super shy. Like I'm super duper shy. And
What?
so, yes,
Like no.
yes. So it depends like who it's with,
Yeah.
right? And how comfortable I feel,
Yeah.
and then I can really open up, and
Yeah.
and like you said, like I'm not a small talker. I'll go straight into deep
Okay,
dives.
that's my favorite thing about you though. I
I,
love the deep dives.
I did
Yeah.
straight into the deep
Yeah.
dives, and how can we relate it, and like can we have a thought provoking conversation about it?
Yeah.
Like I grew up in a house where Sunday dinners was debates almost, and everybody had to just kind of stand their ground. And it was never a we hate you at the end. It was just a okay, I see where you're coming from. But it's still that way. I have two other sisters that are very opinionated. And when we get together on Sunday dinners and we want to debate something and my dad gets in there, like it's wild.
Oh my
And it could be
God.
the smallest thing. I think one year it was my sister, her last name ends with a S. And we're like, where does the apostrophe go? And that went on for a long time. And we'll debate it out. Like, and we have documentation, like whatever it is, we will research and we'll come back. So like I'm very into I want to understand where you're coming from in
Yeah.
every aspect of my life, right? I want to understand why you think that way. And I think part of that makes me a little bit sensitive. I
Mm.
mean, I wouldn't trade it. It's who
Mhm.
I am.
Mhm.
Um, but I genuinely wanna understand how your human experience has shaped you thus far.
Yeah.
And then I think about my personal life, and I'm like, anytime I go anywhere and I see someone do their craft, I'm in complete and utter love. Like I am
Same.
in
Like when
awe.
they're in their zone of
Yes.
genius or
It is the
whatever, it's like,
sexiest thing to
wow.
watch is
Yeah.
someone be in their zone of genius
Yeah.
and just
And it
go
could be anything.
anything.
Anything. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. It could be a chef, it could be a
Yeah.
janitor. I don't care if you're scrubbing toilets or whatever you're doing, but when you're just in that
In
zone,
that flow,
in
that
that flow
vibration, that
of, yeah,
frequency,
it's so
you know
good.
it and you feel
Yeah.
it. And I think to me, when you and I or anybody individually feels that frequency, like that is the closest frequency to God.
Yeah.
That's your highest self. That's your
Mm-hmm.
goddess version,
Mm-hmm.
right? We don't get it. It's not a frequency you can live in the
Mm-hmm.
whole time. I wish we could, but it's a frequency that we get to tap into.
Yeah.
And when we tap into, it's like nothing else matters,
No,
right?
it's like
Nothing else
flow. You're
matters.
just
Like
flowing.
floating. You're just
Yeah.
almost floating through what you were supposed to do in life. I think the
Yeah.
first time my dad used to take us to shows. We were concert kids. We had to go to every show, every play. We were first row, like
I
everything. The
love
Blaisdell brought,
that.
right? And I remember the first time I went to a symphony. I was very little. And same thing. I didn't care about anything else but the conductor, or what is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
After that, I was obsessed. And I know that's where it stemmed from. It's like watching someone do what they love,
Yeah.
right? Can you watch the Olympics and not cry? I
Mm.
watch everything and I just cry because I'm like, I know what you had to overcome to
Mm-hmm.
produce that.
Mm-hmm.
And it
To
was a
get
lot.
here, to
Yeah.
get to this day.
And you didn't give up on yourself. And
Yeah.
that gives me hope. That inspires me, right? Like it's like, man, these people have overcome so much to get to this point, to do something that no one, like 1% of the world can do.
Mm-hmm. But that's what I feel like I see in you. I know all that you've overcome in all these years, and to see you now, all the wonderful things that you're doing, and the woman that you are today, it's just so amazing to
Thank
me.
you.
Yeah, but I feel like you give people permission to be more,
Yeah.
you know, to want more, to
Yeah.
be more, to do more. Once they see you do it, it's like, you know what, I can do this too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I started, I know I have a story for you.
yeah.
I started posting pictures of me that were a little bit more, not OnlyFans worthy, it's
Not
just,
Mormonish.
the Mormonish, okay? And I remember before posting that first one, I did this really pretty beach photo shoot because because you were my first one. Like
Yeah,
I did my
boudoir
boudoir,
photo.
yeah, with
Yeah,
you, right? And that took a lot. That took a lot for
yeah.
me. I
Well,
think
that took a lot for you in that's for the Kamaile
that
then.
version, yeah,
Now,
yeah.
that's
Oh,
like nothing, girl.
I would have been like naked, right?
Yeah, no,
But
no.
then
If
I
I do
was
a
like,
photo shoot with you, you just show up
oh,
naked and be like, I am ready to
ready?
go.
Yeah, yeah. No, so that was the first one. And then after that, I did this really pretty photo shoot in Kauai on the beach on a
Yeah,
random whim. Like
I
I was
saw it's
flying
beautiful.
in and I just was looking. I was like, hey, I'm going to be here tomorrow. Any chance you got an opening? And she like took me out. And I remember wanting to post that photo on my Instagram. And I just mulled and hold and blah, 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 blah. And my husband was like, just post that. Just post it. Like, what if my mom sees it? My mom's going to see it. How do I hide this from her? And I remember posting it and I got pushback. There was a lot of liberation and there was a lot of pushback. And I think that was the start of it because I was like, but showing up as me is what God wants for me,
Yeah.
right?
That was your shift? Do
That
you
was my
feel?
shift
Yeah,
because I put that one out there and it wasn't like shot down. People weren't like,
yeah,
take this off.
yeah.
It was just like,
But
welcome.
But it wasn't the Kamaile that they're used to
Right.
in their mind. The
Right.
Kamaile that they put the box around you or whatever, it wasn't that Kamaile. You're starting to become a
A
different
different version.
Kamaile, a
But, like,
different version.
you're only seeing it now doesn't mean it wasn't already happening. Like, I
Yeah,
still had to have
yeah,
gone through certain experiences and
yeah.
done the photo shoot to feel sexy. I'm like, you know better than anybody, like, the photo shoot and being sexy is vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
and getting people to be super comfortable
Mm-hmm.
to to be in a space where they can,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
that's a talent in and of its own, right? Like, I wanna be super comfortable with the person.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that process was already starting for me. People just didn't see it,
Yeah.
and then I got pushback from other Mormon women who were like, it didn't fit the mold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a lot
And
of
it's
us that don't fit the
okay.
mold. Yeah.
I'm just not in that pot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm over here,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
still loving the Lord, still doing the things I need to do, like worry about you. And that will
Did
bring
it
up a whole
hurt
thing.
you though? Did it
It did
hurt?
because it felt judgy.
Okay.
And I think sometimes when you're in an organized religion,
Yeah.
judgment is the driving
Well,
force.
especially the how women's supposed to be. Don't be showing your shoulders, and don't be doing all these things, and don't be showing no cleavage. And it's just like, my goodness, like just wrap me in a turtleneck,
Right, right,
like,
right. But I'm
you
always
know,
like, that's
is it
only based
you?
off of men, what
Yes. Yeah.
society and men have told us for the
Yeah.
last few generations.
Yeah.
Cool. It's just a body.
Yeah.
This is just my body.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna show up how I want.
I think I think women need to like look at themselves and be like, well, what do I really want? This is my life, and what do I want?
That would be my biggest thing for anyone. Regardless if you're trying to start a business or you're trying to pivot, anyone's like, please take the time to develop some self-awareness and do some inner child work and really figure out where some of your wounds are bleeding out into other people that have nothing to do with anybody else. It is so difficult to come to face with some of these things that you have endured that did not even begin with you, right? That could be your grandmother's trial that has become unknowingly your trial, right? Or your trauma, or still existing cellularly in your body, right? Because your grandmother experienced something. Whatever it may be, I'm like, you're never going to advance to the highest level that you achieve you want to achieve, because that's the part that's holding you back. So it is straight up a projection of what you think of me is what you think of yourself.
Exactly. Yes.
Right? And like,
Yeah.
I have had people be extremely critical.
It's a mirror. I call it mirror,
It's
mirror.
mirror. Yeah. And I'm like, the more I think about it, I'm like, you're extremely critical to me because you are extremely critical of yourself.
You just gotta like dive deep. Like, what is it?
Right.
Like, you gotta just think, why is this person making me feel this way so much? Is it because she has what I want?
Right.
I want this so bad. And instead of me recognizing that this is what I want, I'll just hate on her instead.
It's easier.
It's easier
Hating
to just
is
hate on her.
easier.
It's easier for me to hate on her than it is for me to look at myself.
Yeah. It's easier to
Yeah.
hate on you than it is for me to level up to your level.
Yeah.
It's just easier. Less time,
Yeah.
less work, less
Yeah.
tears.
But for me to look within
Mhm.
and have to face this, it's emotional, it's hard work, it's, but that's where you find yourself.
Yes. That's where the joy is.
And that's where you're gonna grow into another
Yeah.
pot.
That's like
I'm
where
gonna call
the
this
secret
is about
sauce
pot.
is, right? Yeah. That's where your secret sauce is for
It
the pot
is.
is.
It
Like, yeah, you
is.
can have all the ingredients,
Yeah.
but the only thing that pulls it together is like the broth, the sauce, right? Whatever.
And it's you
And it's
creating
you.
it. It is
Yeah.
you. You are the secret
Yeah.
sauce.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I wish women didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
I understand, right? To a certain degree, from a society based in patriarchy. Like, I understand where a lot of our insecurities come from, but I wish, even beyond culture and women as a gender, right, as a whole, like, that wasn't the easier route that we all default to. Just talk shit.
Yeah.
Her stuff is junk anyway.
Yeah.
So ugly. I could do it better.
Yeah.
Do it then.
Exactly.
Welcome.
Then go ahead.
Then do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming, right? Anybody who's listening to this either knows us or our personal journeys and is watching us grow and change. Maybe you have an entrepreneurial or like a business or something on your heart, right? Like, I think what we can leave for everyone is like, start. Just start. Start somewhere. Start small. You absolutely do not have to know everything about anything. Like,
and start before you're ready.
Start before you're ready.
Just go.
Start when it's scary. Like,
yeah.
To be honest, isn't that the funnest part?
It is.
That's the funnest part. Not when I'm good at something.
Yeah.
That just becomes mundane almost.
Yeah.
It's I'm so excited. I'm so nervous to start something new.
And I'm so scared, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah. Like, I know for us, like, especially business owners, there's like a dopamine hit, right? That
totally.
comes with like,
Yeah.
I'm doing something different,
yeah.
or I'm expressing in a new way or a new media than I'm used to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's where it is. So like, just start. Don't overthink it, and just be open. Be open to the way it flows. There's almost like if we could give a little path to, it's not going to be the same as anybody else's.
Yeah. And it gets better.
Yeah.
Just know you are starting at day one and it's going to get better. But also remember, this is going to be your day one. Like, no one's expecting you to be the expert at whatever you're doing, or it's supposed to be the best.
Right.
It is your best in this moment at this time, and you will only get better.
And people think that they have to be a certain amount, right? Like, I have to at least be level 1 before I can come into this class or pay for this class. And I always tell people, and I learned this a long time ago, when you're the newbie, the ones who want to help are so helpful to you.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the yous and me's, if I found someone brand new, like I would just share all my mana'o with them because they're new. Like if I had a new...
Because you see yourself in them. Like, I remember when it was my day one. I remember showing up scared.
Exactly.
Like, I'm here to help you.
You don't know any different. Like you don't come in with preconceived whatever. You're just coming in like, I just want to learn. I'm a sponge. And so I always tell people, like, when you're the new one and you don't know anything, more people will help you because of that. And that's your advantage. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're going to have more people step up and offer you, or like, oh, I can connect you. Let me connect you to so-and-so. Like, those are the things that took us years to experience that we can give to people in the beginning. So starting, finding your rhythm, following through, like that's the greatest thing you can ever do for yourself, is follow through on something you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
And what that will do is it'll inevitably lead you to your next step. And a lot of the next steps just happen to be other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't mean it's your
Yeah.
next business. It's someone else who introduces you to someone else,
Yeah.
who sparks an interest in something else. And I think the thing I love most is the ability to stay open to pivoting
Yes.
in any direction that
Yes.
feels good to your soul.
Yeah.
Right? Just because I came in and I'm like, I want to be this, does not mean I can't pivot along the way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, and I admire you. Because even when I tell people I'm going to Mapuana, I was like, the photographer. I'm like, oh, the podcast. Like,
Right?
she has a podcast now. And they're like, they are genuinely surprised. I'm like, oh,
They're
really?
like, what?
I'm
I
like,
know.
yeah.
Everyone's
And I'm
all
like,
surprised.
and then I immediately, right? Like, well, we can all live multiple lives and do multiple things and be good at other things.
Yeah, we
too.
could grow. We all
You know what I mean?
can
We
grow.
all can do this. So
Yeah.
that's where I would start, right?
Yeah.
Is like follow the path and be open to it, because it's going to bring you to things that were never on your game board.
Yeah.
Were never on your bingo card, you know? Like,
Yeah.
and those are the like you said, like the secret sauce, the little things in there where you're like,
Yeah.
you start to discover who you are, what your passion really
Yes.
is, what you like and what you don't like. Like, I'm flying to Denver next month for part of this like training in this new business I'm looking into, and I'm still like, I'm in, but if I get there and I don't like it, what it is, cool.
Then
I
okay.
wouldn't have known.
Yeah. You wouldn't have known.
I wouldn't have known
Exactly. Yes.
until I did it.
Yeah.
And that's like the
Yeah.
greatest gift you can give yourself, versus like,
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do this thing.
Because
I
that
never
to me
did
is
it.
the worst.
Worst feeling,
Worst.
right?
Yeah. I always say this all the time, and I always say, just get me in the arena. I do not care what I am
Yeah.
doing in the arena. I can be bloody. I can be on the ground, like just like scraping my way through, but just get me in the arena. It is the death of me to be in the stands and sit and watch.
Okay, that's exactly, then that should be our end note, because your environment
Yeah.
dictates so much, right?
Yeah.
What you're seeing
Yeah.
as your norm versus all of a sudden I'm with this caliber of a woman, I'm like, that's the norm. I
Yeah.
start acting like that. I start dressing like that. I start
Yes.
behaving like that.
Yes.
I start expecting
You're leveling up what
that.
your norm is.
Yes. And you're not
Yeah.
going to get that norm if you're just, you know,
Yeah.
I'm just watching, I'm scrolling every day. I don't listen to podcasts. I don't pursue any type of creative outlet. I'm not educating myself in any type of capacity, right? Like,
Yeah.
your norm's going to stay here.
Yeah.
Your environment can play such a role in that upgrade,
Yeah.
right? Like, who are you surrounding yourself with? What things are you seeing, right? Going back
What's
to like,
your arena?
what's the arena that you're trying to get into?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
all of those things
Yeah.
all start to play a role, like, on who you believe you can become.
Yeah.
So once you see yourself in the arena, all of a sudden, you bought the shoes for the arena.
Exactly.
Right? I got the
All of
right
a sudden, you're
gear
not on the
on.
floor,
Right.
bloody. You standing
Yeah.
up. You got the cute outfit.
Yes.
Now
All
you
of a
got the
sudden-
microphone.
Exactly. Next thing you know, you are living the life that you
Yes.
envisioned.
Yeah.
And there's so much power
Totally.
in daily putting forth that effort to live the life you want to live.
Yeah.
Be the living to the person that you want to become.
Yeah. And just know you will also outgrow that arena and then go into another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't just be, kicking it at home in my pajamas every day and expect
In your
all of a
Okole by
sudden.
Kamaile, and that's it.
No, and just expect, right, that some other amazing businesswoman is going to just roll into my lap,
Yeah.
right? Like, it goes both ways. Like, I
It
got to put
does.
myself out there a little bit. I got to start
Yeah.
finding the rooms to be a part of, the groups to look for.
And get in the rooms. For me,
Yeah.
that's like one big advice I think would be just get in the room, even when you feel like you don't belong. Like, get in that arena. And you may feel like you're the janitor sometimes, or you may feel like you don't
Wow.
belong. You're like the smallest person there. Just get yourself in
Right.
there, and it'll give you room to grow. It's like really putting yourself in a bigger pot. Your roots will grow to fit the pot.
Yep.
Put yourself in
Yep.
the bigger pot. And the
Mhm.
bigger pot is the room. It's the arena. It's the people that you
Yeah.
surround yourself with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and tell all the haters, shut the hell up.
No, you just tell them, just watch.
Just upgrading.
Just
I'm in constant
Yeah.
elevate mode.
Because you wanted to. You want to upgrade. You
know what? That's what I always say too. I'm just like, you can have what I have too, though.
You just
Like,
gotta
that's the
work
part
for
that
it.
always trips me.
Yeah.
I'm like, you complaining about this and that I have. I'm like, well, you can have it too, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Have it all.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to have the experience, you can have it too.
Yes.
You have to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
So,
That was
be
good.
brave. Be brave.
Yeah. Thank you.
I
That was
know.
so wonderful, Kamaile. I loved it so
Yay!
much. Thank you so much for listening, or if you're on YouTube for the Mapuana Reed Show, thank you so very much. If you want to follow Kamaile, where can they go?
You can find me on Instagram at Okole by Kamaile.
I love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Get in the arena, people.